Sometimes the Lord will allow you to experience a little something, right? To give you a word through it, okay? And I'm not talking about like trials, troubles, tribulations like that, like the life things, really. I'm talking about like something that happens in your day or whatever, to where God will in turn he allowed you to go through it, allowed you to experience it because he was going to give you a word through it. So let me tell you what happened this morning. Glory, okay? My husband works in the city. We live in the country. This is I mentioned details in my videos, y'all, because I'm trying to make it make sense, okay? So you understand, right? So we live in the country. He works in the city. Okay, so I'm driving him to work, whatever, drop him off. And I don't know where I'm at because I'm not familiar with the area, none of that, okay? Even out here in the country, I have to use GPS because I'm not from here, so I don't know squat, really, except for what's around town, okay? So I turn my GPS on, and put in the address, but I noticed that my GPS is not working. Okay. And I'm like, it's all right. I know what street I'm on. I know how to get off this street. Right. So I'll just drive a little bit and hopefully GPS will connect. I don't know what's going on, whatever. So boom, I get to the stop sign and my GPS is still not connected. Okay. It's still not connected. I'm trying to make phone calls. It's not going through. I'm trying to send text messages. It's not going through because I don't know which way to go. And my GPS is not freaking working, bro. Now let me back up a little bit. On Monday, okay, I had went up to my husband's job at lunchtime to bring him lunch before I went to work because I work in the afternoon. Okay. I used GPS to get there. Right. And when I dropped off his food to him, I had GPS already, like GPS was already on to take me to my next destination, which was the gas station and then to work. Okay. So I had no issues whatsoever. Mind you, the reason why I brought this up, he works in the city. Okay. In the city, you might have certain parts of the city where your service isn't that good, but overall, you're going to have operational service because you're in the city. Whereas in the country where we live, it's a little bit different because sometimes my service is not good at all, or I don't have service at all out here because we're in the freaking country. So I drive, right? I'm driving and I see the gas station that I stopped at on Monday, but mind you, I was going to work after I left that gas station. So so I'm like, okay, there's the gas station. I'm just going to sit here and try GPS again. It was still not working, y'all. Okay. So I'm calling my husband. It's not going through because he's from here. Like he knows these roads, even the ones in the city. So he would be able to tell me how to get back. Right. But I mean, just, not even back to the house, just back to the highway that I know so that I can get back to the house. Right. But anyway, my phone's not working at all, y'all. Every single thing that I tried was not working. Okay. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to drive. I'm just going to drive. Right. Because GPS has to connect at some point, bro. So I'm just going to drive. Maybe I'm in a dead area. I don't know how because my GPS was working just fine on Monday. Right. So I'm just going to drive. Y'all, I have you know that the turn that I made was apparently the wrong one because as I'm driving, nothing is looking familiar. It actually got to the point, and by this, let me tell y'all, by this time, I am in full panic mode because I have no GPS. Anybody I try to call, my phone's not working. Like, it's literally just me in my car in the open road. And I'm like, baby, where are we going? Are we going to go to South Carolina? Are we going to go to Virginia? Because I don't know at this point. But those are my neighboring states, okay? So I'm panicking, y'all. I am freaking out. I am crying. I'm yelling at GPS. I'm like, take me to blah, blah, blah. Like I'm like literally, I'm yelling, because I'm in full panic mode. And to my knowledge, I don't think I've ever had a reaction like this before. So this was a very first time experience for me. Even the way I was reacting was taking me by surprise because I'm like, bro, like, yeah, this is frustrating and a little scary because I don't know where I'm going, right? And I have nobody to contact or anything to help me get back on the right track, okay? But my reaction was still a little wild, okay? I'm not gonna lie. So eventually I'm like, okay, I told you I'm driving, right? So I'm at a point now where it's nothing but trees. There's no exits. There's no turn off roads. There's no nothing for me to like turn around and start going back the opposite way. Eventually though, I do see like a side turn for a business. So I turn in there to turn to go back the opposite way. Now, mind you, okay, at this point I was still trying GPS. I'm still trying to call my husband. I'm still trying to do every single thing but call out to the Lord, right? So at this point, I'm driving. I lean over my steering wheel. I look up at the great heavens and I scream, why aren't you helping me? Right? Boom, GPS worked. So when I got back to the house, right, it took me a minute to calm down from that, okay, because I was in full-blown panic mode, okay? So when I got back to the house, I sat on the bed for a minute, just like decompressing from what I just experienced. And the Lord started to speak to me. This could be for you, right, depending on whose FYP this lands on. This could be for somebody you're praying for, like standing in the gap for, whatever the case may be, okay? Y'all notice, right? Now, I want to assume, and I know that's not the right word to use, but I want to assume that God set this up to the T exactly the way that it was, okay? Because if you notice, I did not call on God immediately, okay? I was still trying to use other methods, other people to help me instead of God, right? Who does that remind you of, okay? Usually a person operating in their own free will, somebody out in the world, they're typically not seeking God for anything, right? They're going on their own plans, on their own guidance, right? And when troubles come, they're not seeking God. They're trying to contact other people, right? But the connections have been severed, like, or, they're reaching out to people or they're trying these resources and it's not working. Like nothing's working out, right? Until, just like in my situation, until I called on God, GPS immediately, y'all, immediately that little green go button that pops up, that came up immediately after I called, Lord, why aren't you helping me? Because that's going to be the breaking point. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? It wasn't until I fully surrendered in that moment to God that he reached out and was like, boom, there we go. Now you're on the right track. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Because a lot of your spouses, especially speaking for the standards, right? They are rebellious. I know a lot of people talk about free will, and y'all know, if you know how I feel about free will, okay? We don't technically have it, all right? And you know this, you have to know God's character and personality, but we got a plethora of examples in the Bible how free will holds no place when it comes to what God has for your life. When it comes to God's plans, your free will means squat, okay? God already took your free will actions into account when, he was ordaining plans for you and stuff like that. He already knew you was going to be operating out of free will and disobedience for the majority or parts of your life, or whatever the case may be. God already knew, okay? But it's not until you come into full surrender to God, right? I told you guys before, especially when it comes from the marriage journey standpoint, there will come a time in their life where either physical things start crashing down, mental things become too much, whatever the case may be. Resources dry up, nobody's helping them. They feel like they're all alone, because that's how I felt. I felt all alone. I felt helpless. I felt hopeless. I felt like, oh my gosh, I have no idea where I'm going. Do y'all see how this word is forming, right? But it wasn't until I called on the Lord. Amen. And I know God allowed me to experience this, orchestrated, allowed it to happen, caused it to happen, whatever the case may be, specifically for this, because there's going to be a lot of people that's going to be going through the internal anguish, if you will, that I endured during that time this morning. Okay. And but they're going to call out on the Lord, and he is going to help them. And y'all want further confirmation on this word? Listen to what my devotional was about this morning. Oh, y'all, before I read the devotional, let me share this too. Okay. This is what happens when you try to go your own way. You think you know the route, but without my direction, his direction, you end up lost and scared on the inside. Okay. Still driving, but no longer guided. But the moment you cry out to me, I respond instantly. I never left. I was just waiting for the surrender. Amen. Okay, y'all, it's titled Always Listening for November 6th. Okay. I know at times you feel as though I'm not listening, but I am. I hear in your heart what you're too weak to convey. I know your every hurt and every fear. Yet though I know it before you say it, I want to listen, right? I want to hear you speaking to me in prayer. Your voice beckons mine. Amen. When you're facing the unthinkable, while your heart is breaking, cry out to me. I am here. Okay. I want to embrace you and pour out my love on you, but I want you to recognize your need of me. Okay. I want you to clearly see that you were never meant to walk this life alone. Come on now. Don't always assume I'm not there or don't care when troubles and trials come your way. Know that I use the good and the bad to bring about my perfect plans in your life. Trust that I know what I'm doing. No matter how dire your situation, I have a plan for your deliverance. I hear your cries for help, everyone, and I will answer you. When the moment is perfectly right, when I'm certain that you are ready for the miracle and it will have its greatest impact on your faith, I will move. Okay. But until that moment, rest in my grace and continue to walk firmly by faith. And y'all listen to the verse. Jonah chapter 2 verse 2. I cried out to the Lord in my great trouble, and he answered me. God is beyond intentional, baby. Can't nobody tell me my God ain't real. Amen.